Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here, and I have Miss Jodi in the house. How are you doing?
So dynamite. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so happy to have you. So what I like to do with my guests is they tell their story where they want to start, and we'll kind of go from there. I say that and people are like, oh, that's a big thing. I don't mean 2 years old, but you're welcome to start where you want to, and we'll go from there.
I like that. Keeps it open. Yeah. Well, I like to very much begin with the end in mind. And I mean that literally and figuratively, channeling a little, what's that, Stephen Covey. And so where I am now to me is the most important, because it's of course a reflection of where I came, but I am so stoked every freaking day because I count down the rest of my life. And so my business is called 4,000 Mondays because that's roughly all we're going to get. And all right, let's be honest, some of us will exceed 4,000, but unfortunately, many of us will not. And so having tapped into this mission in my life to help us wake up to the autopilot we slip into, we take life for granted. And so now that my life is centered entirely around this notion of wake up, time's ticking, that to me is this is exactly where I need and want to be after making adjustments along the way. Yeah. So 10 years ago, I left my corporate job at the time and got into leadership development and coaching. And that was great and fine. And I could never figure out, why is it not enough? Oh, I know why. It's because it's not the thing I'm the most passionate about in the entire planet. And so I've had fun with the corporate thing for 17 years, the leadership stuff for 10. And then now this has just been this is being plugged into life. And I want everybody to feel that.
So I have something that I came up. There's two themes I live by now. It came up, it took me about 6 months to noodle around with it. And I think you'll appreciate it because it hits on the vein you're talking about. I only get into business now, and I only do things in this world that I only run races I can't win.
Oh, I'm smitten.
Because what I found, because I'm a high performance coach and a mindset coach, is that a lot of people don't procrastinate because they're not procrastinating. It's that the goal or the why or the need for them is not big enough. Yeah. So the mountain's not big enough. Yeah. It's not that. You're swimming in the wrong tank. The shark's in the minnow tank.
I love that so much. That requires some seriously fabulous growth mindset, which clearly you have, but it freaks people out, right?
It does because what freaks them out is they lose friends. That's what freaks them. Because I've realized, right, I've interviewed 700 plus people, right, on multiple podcasts, right, in a 3-year stretch. And what I found is the community they lose is almost more scary than the money or the house or the cars.
Because in the reaching and attaining success, people can't handle their bright light. Is that the...
Yes and no, but more importantly, by you being great, you're going to leave others behind.
Yeah. It's funny, the space I play in, I don't talk unduly about death. Oh, that's not true. That's a total lie. I talk all the time about death, but it's not the act of dying that is as interesting to me as it is as the motivator. But it's this notion, though, of acceptance, right? That we already understand logically that we're going to go, but we don't really stop and live our lives like it. And like what you're saying, we're not accepting of there's an evolution. Every friend, every pet, every person we know and love and care about, they're not only are they going to die like us, but things are changing and evolving. And so it is funny that we like to hold on to this notion about I want these buddies in my life, or this family matters so much, when we're destined to evolve.
I'm gonna say it to my audience in a different way that maybe doesn't scare them as much. The conversation around death reminds me of the weather. Okay. And hang with me here, is that we talk about the weather as if it hasn't done the same thing for 100 plus years. Why do I need to talk about, hey, guess what? I'm gonna let you on a secret. It's hot in Texas. Oh, holy crap. Wow. Revolution. Okay. We walk around as if these things patterns, the universe, the world shows us the same things over and over again. My favorite person in the entire world to listen to is Jim Rohn. And he talks about, when do the mornings come? After the nights. Every day, 365. You're spending your whole life second guessing everything that you do. And then when you get to the end of it, you haven't lived. That's why you're really upset.
Right. Thank you for saying that, because research shows that our relationship, our anxiety about death is often in direct proportion to the belief we have, whether we have lived our lives fully or whether we have life left unlived. And that notion scares me in a fabulous way, right? It's that, we can live our lives in such a way that we don't get to the end and feel like it was unlived. That to me is the greatest shame that would be out there. It's like we didn't do it justice.
Do you think that's why you moved from Chicago to Palm Springs and you're writing a book is kind of that you stoked your own flame with your own adventure?
Oh, for sure. I'm super conscious. A lot of the work I do is around the idea of infusing our lives with novelty. And many of us like that, because it's the opposite of autopilot, which is when we get into the every day is the same, our life is passing us by. And you need to throw a wrench in things intentionally. And that, again, it jolts us because we don't love the change. So yeah, this was a decision about, in life when you have these notions and it's like, you need to bust yourself every now and then and go, are we all talk, no action? If you keep talking about an idea, whether it's for a business or a dream or a hobby you want to take up or a language you want to learn or a town you want to move to, you can only talk about it for so long before it's just going to die on the vine, or maybe you die first. And so, yeah, I think for me, it was like, oh, hon, like to the husband, like, let's make this happen. We're not the type of people, let's not continue being the type of people, because we want to, let's be honest, like we can't live lives that are willy-nilly. We need some certainty and comfort, and I get it. And we need to shake stuff up. Like I look at it as like a snow globe. We need to shake it up every now and then, and then the little pieces fall in different ways that lets us live life with just a little more joie de vivre, or maybe more meaning, whatever it is, whatever you need. But we got to shake it up. So yeah, moving was part of that.
Have you ever read the book Big Magic? You ever heard of that book?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay. So there's a very, it's the poignant story. I've shared it 50 million times. The woman in Minnesota has an idea for a book about a 1903 gold miner from Argentina in a small town that falls in love, like this whole random story, right? And then she sits on this story for like 3 years, and she meets her mentor in LA, and her mentor meets her at a conference and goes, well, I have an idea for a coal mine story in Argentina this year. And she realized that she hadn't gripped that story, and that creativity went on to somebody else.
Yes. Yeah. I love that notion. I think that there's such encouragement there, right? It's like, I believe that that's a motivation to act.
Tupac said, I have to write this song because if I don't, or no, it was Michael Jackson said, I have to write this song because if I don't, Prince will.
That's so beautiful. I love it. Yeah. We're translating this into something that I use, and this has been done a million times before, the deathbed regrets idea, right? Like there's nothing more visceral than stopping and imagining, if life was over tonight, what would be the things you'd kick yourself for? And like, let's dismiss the stupid stuff you did, because I was going to say sins of commission, regrets of commission, the dumb things we did, that's water under the bridge. And also most people, we know enough to know that we can't change it and we can rationalize it. And we often learn from them. I'm more interested in those regrets at the end, which could be those ideas that you didn't write that book about the coal miner, gold miner, whatever the miner, or that you didn't write that song and you're kicking yourself, like if anything is kick worthy or pang worthy, holy crap, like let's tune into that now and then live our lives in such a way that we actually show up and do some of the things. And then we can't do it all. There won't be enough time to do it all. I mean, people like us and the people, your listeners, we have all sorts of goals and dreams, and like, okay, put them in freaking rank order. And let's chip away at the ones that matter the most today. Let's not get to the end with that coulda, shoulda, woulda mentality.
And what was there a moment? Was it a series of moments that got you so inspired with this kind of direction that your life is heading with your business and everything? Was there something that happened?
I think a series, you're right. So I lost my mom in her late 50s, and I believed she died with a bunch of regrets in her life, that I saw when I was cleaning up her place. And it was like this, oh man, like, dear sweet mom, like, you look at all these manuscripts or look at all these business ideas, and she just didn't pull the trigger. And that gripped me because I knew at that time I was living a life where I was stuck in my corporate job, that, the trappings of success kind of stuck. And it made me realize, okay, we're not all going to get 4,000 Mondays, and I want to get on with it because I've got all sorts of dreams and ideas. Some are cockamamie, some are fantastically fabulous, and some of them but all shapes and sizes. Let's just make something happen here. So my mom was a big part of it. I had eating disorders for 10 years, which I look back on now and I just see with such clarity, like, oh my God, I was totally deferring my existence. I was scared and I was trying to control things in a way that, like, you can't, but man, a girl can try. And so I realize now, like, I was kind of dead inside in a way that now I realize, oh, there's life on the other side of the way we try to cope. Like, with your background and your story, you were just trying to cope with just stuff you didn't know how to deal with, mechanisms we have that are dysfunctional. And so, like, let's get help with the stuff that's holding us back so that we can live fully, all the highs, all the lows. So those were some big deals. Oh, and the last thing that I would be remiss if I didn't go through is that I was afraid to talk about mortality and not turn everybody off. Like, it's obviously not the most popular topic. And I found my sea legs by studying it. So I went to school at UPenn, there you go, Pennsylvania, and I studied it as part of the Masters of Applied Positive Psychology program. And it gave me this sense of, oh, this is legit. And I don't know why I needed the legitimacy. Like, I don't believe that we have to go and study something in order to make it like official, that we can talk about it and think about it. But for me, it gave me confidence that I needed in order to go, oh, this is a thing. This memento mori idea, which is Latin for remember we must die. There's some good stuff behind it. So that kicked me off big time.
I love that. And what aspect of it have you found people have the hardest time with? Meaning I see it all the time, right? I have a client who's 30 years alcoholic. He's been coaching with me for 6 months. I've never brought up stop drinking ever, but he's barely drinking now. And so what I've found is, like, people's fear of death, and using in your context, might be actually seated in something else, not actually fear of death. And so, what do people have a hard time understanding? It's the same way. They don't talk about sex. We don't talk about alcohol, and then we don't talk about death. Those are the things that we don't talk about in this world, which crack me up.
I know, right? It's all right. I mean, the common human experience. So I've learned that the conversation around death, there are 3 categories, and I play in the safest, easiest space. So there's death, dying, and grief. Okay, so grief's obvious, sorry you lost your aunt, and how you're going to handle that. There's a whole science and study around that. And then there's dying, which is people call like the good death, like having your affairs in order, dying with dignity, all that stuff, like the gory act of dying. I don't play there either. I am in the, little more comfortable zone of using the idea of it again as the motivator, right? It's more of the concept. So I'm 2 steps removed from the heartache. And so it does make it easier. So I don't necessarily talk with people about their existential fears. I just approach it in a different way. So I admit that I don't get the horror and anxiety. What I get is the normal human condition, which is, I've pinpointed, these are the dreams. This is what I'm longing to do. I want to do it. And then it's that we need consistent reminders that your time's ticking. So even though I could say at a workshop that we get everybody to count their Mondays, it's kind of like part of my thing. Everyone counts their Mondays. Oh, look at that, 1,800 or whatever the number is going to be. And we wake up a little bit And then we go back to the office and we do the TPS report and we go and pick up the dry cleaning and then we have to go and then we watch Netflix. And then all of a sudden we've kind of like lost the plot again. The thing I notice is that it's a consistent little, it's a consistent little push and nudge we need to go, oh no, but really. And that's why my place is littered with skulls and little countdown timers and all the things that are like reminding us that get on with it. Don't defer your life, that you'll do it in retirement. Do you know how many people, I just met an anesthesiologist who's like, the number of people I meet that get cancer right after they retire. And of course I was like, is there a correlation there? But like you're deferring life for an uncertain future. And also, don't you feel sorry for the life you're living now? Doesn't it deserve a little love and fun and meaning? So for me, the thing I notice is fear live. It's if people are more afraid of living than they are afraid of dying.
1000%. I had a client this morning. He went on vacation with his family and I was giving him a hard time because he was like, I feel great. And I'm like, yeah, it's almost like if you go out in nature and spend time with your family, that they love you more. What a freaking wild concept. And I've said, you know what's actually funny in all the coaching I've done? If I just coached on the obviouses of life, I would be, I'd be the best coach in the world. We have
like common sense.
Drink a little water, work out a little bit, have fun with your friends, listen to some music. Whoa, crazy,
Rocket science. You're crazy is right.
But what we do is subconsciously we create boundaries and hills that we have to jump over because we want to give ourselves an out and excuse.
Yeah, we're scared.
We're scared.
I mean, come on.
Because you know what's crazy? I don't give a fuck anymore. You have no idea how much I don't give a shit. Like some bad shit went down last week, like some real bad shit. I cleaned it up, fixed it, shifted it around in 24 hours. Like that to me is like, I just don't like, I'm not going to sit here and be scared anymore because it's just like, whatever, dude, like just move on. We have a saying in our company, on to the next, on to the next. If you don't vibe with our vision, if you don't see that we're out for the good people over profit, if you don't see that everything I do is a result, then I don't want you to be a part of.
I love what you're saying, and I'm going to connect our dots together because you're reminding me of the work I do, and I'm inspired by people who have had those brushes with death. Because man, their eyes have been opened in ways that the rest of us mere mortals, we just haven't even seen. Yeah. And that's the work I strive to do, right? Is create like the experience of like a near-death experience without any of the gore. And that means like, why is it that they're living in a way like kind of how you described, where they don't give a shit anymore because their priorities have been recalibrated? It's like, I don't need to sweat the small stuff because I've seen the light and I know that that's inconsequential. It's trivial. It's stupid. Answering your email today versus tomorrow, like stab my face. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. What really matters is, and then they've identified the big things that do matter. That stark clarity of what is important and that sense of urgency then to get the fuck on with it. That's the stuff that I'm so inspired by. How did you get there though? Because you didn't peer over you've had some past, but how is it you're living a life now where you don't care?
Well, one of my favorite things that a mentor said to me is that most walk around living other people's injected values within them. And it's the truth. And I think, what people don't understand about what's happened to me is that when you burn your motherfucking life to the ground about 9 different times and you blow it up, there is actually some fucking peace and freedom because you get to leave it all behind.
Oh, then you travel light.
Then you travel light and you go, you know what? I'm not going to do that again. Like, what's crazy, right, is I realize that the edge between addiction and not addiction is the spiral. It's not the one event. It's the one event that leads into 2 to 3 to 4 that turns into a month, a 2-month. Like when I got better and started getting better, now that deep, dark depression or that spiral would last a week, 3 days, 2 days. Now it can last 15 minutes. Like boom, recalibrate. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, because here's what's crazy. And I haven't shared this once on the fucking podcast. The last 6 months of last year, I won't do anything. Nothing. I'm getting annihilated by clients. I lost $500,000 for business deals, clients, dumb shit, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's one after another, real estate deals falling through. But
Yeah.
you know what? I always said to myself, one day it'll click. You'll be back. But I still showed up. I still did the podcast. I still coached. I still worked. I still did my things. I still made it happen.
Yeah.
And then one day, like 100 days ago, I stepped out for my morning walk. And when the foot hit, I go, boom, you're back. You're back,
Really?
baby. You're in it. Like, it's like I broke through the ceiling. One of my mentors also said, make your ceiling your new floor.
Okay, you're describing, I love that you've shared that, and you're describing something that's kind of cool, because it's not just about how external circumstances happen to you. That's part of it. You're in the midst of whatever's going on externally, client
I'm not scared
stuff,
to feel it
market
anymore.
stuff.
I'm not scared to feel it. I live inside the chaos tornado.
Yes.
You know?
Okay.
But the
You're just,
mind is clear, right? That's the difference. Because I was the tornado beforehand.
Everyone around you.
You know what I told my CEO the other day? He goes, dude, business is getting wild. He's like, it's getting crazy. We're building it up. And he goes, dude, it's like a tornado in here. And I said, no. When I whisper to the tornado, I say, it's motherfucking Austin. And he fucking can't. He thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. He goes, you literally text me that. And he tells it in my voice, and I fall over because I was so serious about it. Because what happens is that I realize that if I truly want to do what I want to do, which is create impact at scale, which is my only why, I'm going to affect everybody that I'm around at all times in every situation. Then I have to live free. I have to be the motherfucking fireman running through the fire door before anybody else. And you know what's crazy? Now that you say that and it's clicking, I realize that in order to be the best coach and the best person I can to lead a company, I have to jump through the burning building first. And when I realize that it's for other people, I don't have any fear for myself.
Oh, right. Because it's like the mission at hand is just so clear. It's bigger than you.
One of the guys I interviewed on the podcast, he goes, I never met somebody that has such a clear vision on exactly what they want to do. And I'll share you mine. They say, what's the root? Like, what's the big thing? I could say, oh, it's so simple. It's so simple. So I'm 70 years old. We're in Tuscany, Italy, on a 10-acre farm where I have 2 Airbnb stone houses that I cooked them breakfast and out of the garden. And I don't drink anymore, but I made them my own wine, and they're the guests. And so I walk down to the market to get the food for dinner that I'm going to prepare for them because I used to be a chef. And across the street, somebody yells out, holy shit, that's motherfucking Austin Linney. And he runs up to me. And I said, hey, man, like, I appreciate that, but I don't know who you are. And he goes, I know you don't, but you coach so-and-so and so-and-so changed my life. So thank you.
Oh, I mean, can we not all just take a moment of freaking silence for that? Like, and I love how vivid it is. There's such cool research about how when you have a dream, you need to pepper it with exactly what you did. I could smell the herbs in your cooking. I could tell that I saw the wine glasses, and then I saw the guy. Like, you have it seared in. There's no way that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is I did now this is where I try to keep it between the lines because my fiance has taught me a lot. I went to go do a reading from this lady in Austin. And she said, I'm picking up, this is a true story. She said, I'm picking up a white suit in the Mediterranean with a sailboat and food and music. And I said, what the fuck are you talking about? And she goes, my dream is to host a party on a catamaran in the Mediterranean in the Greek Isles. But see, that's what we don't do. When my clients come to me and they go, I want this car. No. I need you to tell me what the color. So when I travel, right, I work a lot. Like today's a 7 to 7 straight through all day. Meaning I'm about to run out of here, go try to get a bunch of money from people's money in the it's a whole right. But when I travel, that moment, I could tell you exactly. I could explain to you one, and you'll know it because you live there. Okay, I'll explain one to you. There was a moment when I got separated from my wife, I went to Joshua Tree. I stayed on 30 acres in an Airstream. And I purposely put my phone away because I didn't want to take a picture. I wanted to experience it. Okay. I wanted it to register in my brain, because when I'm in those moments, I take a mental picture. So when I'm in the grind, I know what I'm grinding for. Okay.
Mhm.
The wind was blowing 30 miles an hour. I was surrounded by mountains, and it was the pinkest sunset I've ever seen in my entire I can hear it. I can see it right now.
Mhm.
And in that moment, I felt like the sun set for like 3 hours.
Mm.
And that was like the moment that I always go back to when I'm like, I don't want to do it, or I've got to do another Zoom call. Like I think about the Grand Tetons. I think about Costa Rica. I think about, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
So you have these vivid like anchor points that keep
Yes.
you centered
Yes.
and grounded and reconnected to the stuff, the why, like
The reason.
this is the point,
If
even
the
when it's
why is big
grueling and
enough, the
hard.
how will figure itself out.
Yeah, I love it.
You know?
Can I
And
ask
like,
you if you,
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
well, I'm curious if you, because you clearly live and lead with such intention. Would there be anything that if you were to find yourself on your deathbed that you would feel like, man, I didn't do that thing I longed
Yeah, I
to
mean, the
do?
only thing on the list that hasn't happened yet that's scheduled, I'm obsessed with Italy, Croatia, Norway, and Banff, Canada, and I haven't been yet. So like those are like the only ones. I'd like to go to Thailand too. It's all travel stuff. It's all travel stuff.
Experience out there.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's all experiences. For me, no, because
Okay.
I have 800 podcasts and about 5,000 videos that it could be my legacy. I still got more to do. I would say it already happened for me. I didn't have a relationship with my father for 20 years. Pretty much. I was in Costa Rica. I was with my coach. It was 5 a.m. We were walking through his neighborhood, and I stopped. And I literally just stopped what I was doing. And I go, holy fucking shit. The reason I don't like my dad is because we're the same person. I go, I'm running for myself. I'm not mad at him. And I have not really spoke to my dad. I'm dead serious. Like, not really. Like, I spent maybe once every year. Like, there's 6 years we didn't talk. You know what my dad does? For 35 years, my dad's been a consultant to small businesses. Exactly what I do. Of course. Now he's on the board. Now we talk every day. You know, we rekindled that relationship. But our rekindling has inspired 3 other fathers and sons to reconnect.
Well, that is beautiful in a demonstration too of the social contagion theory, right? Like when we're around, that's the reason why, you know, we surround ourselves with people who are our type and motivating and ideally up-leveled so that we catch from a contagious effect what they're up to. And that's why we want positive and not negative. And there's even evidence about how there are 3 degrees of separation. So in a way, you're talking about a ripple effect, which is beautiful. And there's a funny thing where being mindful of someone you're going to hang out with and choose to spend your precious time with. It's about how do you make me feel? But now this is going to get a little narrow and we're not going to go there, but you're also experiencing an effect of who their friends are and who their friends' friends are, because it's that contagious of an effect. So your description though of inspiring reconciliation, that's the thing that happens in social networks when there's a good kind of contagion. I love this.
Well, what I think is great, right? And just, I'm an energy like feel guy, and that's like my jam. I don't have to read one single page of your book to know it's going to be a bestseller. And the reason is because there's not a word on that page that wasn't put in with deep intention and thoughtfulness. Because I can tell your personality, I can tell the intention. You're not in it to like sell books, even though you will. You're in it to create something that's deeper than you. And so the words that live on the page will live for the years to come. And it won't matter how many you sold, because that book will impact said person. And that's all that matters.
You know what? You totally made my day, first of all, for even saying that. And thank you. And I believe this also for the way you express, right? It's like, it's from the freaking soul. Like it's heartfelt, it's legit, it's real, it's raw, it's
You know
vulnerable.
what my
all the
fiance
things.
says all the time?
What?
She'll literally tell people that we randomly meet. She goes, "This is real. He's not fake." Like you just like people think it's no, I'm dead serious. People think I'm putting them on or like it's a scam or something. And she's like, no, like he's so real that it scares the shit out of you how real he is.
You just can't handle the real.
But that's what's great is right is because one of the things I try to do, and I think you're doing it in your teachings, is I try to give people the cover to be themselves, whichever way. Meaning we have a problem, right? The podcast light's not right. The scenery's not wrong. The camera's not great. And we put off and we do, and we put off and we put off. Hey, start it messy. My favorite thing to do is called messy action.
Ooh, that's brilliant.
Messy action. Just take ridiculous amounts of action. Don't care about all the parameters of it and just see where you go. And I promise you'll learn more out about yourself.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like also you're willing to then see what emerges, right? Like whatever cream rises to the top or where your energy is. Because sometimes, like, I believe we live small and narrow. So I have this notion, like, of course we want to live longer. Okay, fine. Obviously, as long as we're, healthy. But I like the idea about living wider and deeper. So the widening part of life is adding in more vitality, more of the pleasure, fun, the hedonic side of life. And then there's the deepening of life, which is more about the meaning. So the purpose, the connection to something bigger, et cetera. Right. And so when you look at that kind of interplay together, there can be a way to sort of diagnose our lives and see, do I need a little more width? Because like I've got meaning, but like I'm just like asleep at the switch here. Well, it's so freaking boring. Right.
Well, like, see, the way I view people is like, here's their circle. Okay. And all these parts of the circle make up who they are. But yet we spend all of our time on the things that make us money, not knowing that the things that don't make us money are the reasons that we make money in the first place.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
So meaning like my client who makes $5 million a year is unfulfilled, but his favorite thing to do in the world is golf and fish, but he hasn't golfed and fished for 3 years.
Okay. You're nailing. There's this whole idea that drives me, and it drives me part crazy, but also part inspired, right? Because there's a fine line. And it is this idea that of people I work with, I just did a workshop last week where getting people to identify what makes you feel most alive. Okay. And for many, it is something that they have not done in years. So one guy was like, I come alive when I'm surfing. I'm like, oh God, that sounds fabulous. Where do you live? He lives in fucking Idaho. Like, there's not a lot of surfing in Idaho. Okay. When was the last time you surfed? He hasn't surfed since before COVID. And then you look at it and you go, this is your one wild and precious life. And if you know there's something that plugs you into that energy source of aliveness and all the things that are going to wake you up, we owe it to ourselves to find a way to make that happen. And so there are so many stories of the life we used to live, right? I used to love to paint, or, oh man, when I was at the dojo, it was like, those were the best years of my life. When I'm like, if you're not handicapped, go back to the dojo, right? Go and order on Amazon. It'll be there in 2 days, a new canvas and paintbrush. Like, plug the fuck in, because our time is ticking, right?
I gotta send you a song. My buddy wrote. But what I want to do is, if people want to find out about you, they want to know how to get a hold of you, they want to make sure they get the book when it gets out, how would they do that?
Thanks for asking. I can be found at 4000mondays.com. Not easy.
I love it. Guys, if you like this episode, send it to a friend, and we'll see you next time.